welcome! I'm here in the wood turning room today, ready to play with some wood turning. And I've also bought myself a new toy to play with. I have the Sc2 Woodturning Chuck by Record Power. I've already bought myself the Record Power Sc3 Chuck. Where's he gone? There it is. At Christmas time. And I'm loving it. I've used it a few times and it's really great. So now I've treated myself to the Sc2, which is a much smaller woodchuck, and will hopefully allow me to play with these smaller pieces of wood that I have been hanging on to for a while. So let's have a look and see what's in this box. I've already been in here looking around, and it's pretty much the same as the Sc3, just everything is smaller. So there's his key and the woodchuck itself. Very small and cute in comparison. So this is the Record Power Sc3 and compared to the Record Power Sc2. A bag with its jaws. So we've got the 4 jaws, wrong way round, there we go. I can't get them together, there. So four of the jaws to open and close and grab onto your wood. Pack of screws to screw the jaws on, and it's Allen key. There's an Allen key to attach the jaws or attach the screws. A little tiny red stopper, and there we go, there's a little tiny worm screw that I believe locks this onto your lathe. If you want it to go in reverse and go backwards, this stops the thread from unthreading and coming off. There's also this screw thread. It's blunt at the end, and then a screwed thread bit. Now I know this fits into the jaws in the centre here, but I've not been wood turning for very long and I've not been studying it enough, and I don't know what to do with this. I've got one for my Sc3 as well, never used it. Hopefully I will do in the future. I'll learn what I'm supposed to do with it and I'll give it a go, but for now it can stay safely in the bag. Right, a handful of screws to screw the jaws on. Anything else in here? Oh, instructions. A book of instructions. I'm not going to open it up now. It's in a nice plastic bag and I'm all greasy from the chuck. But it comes with instructions if you need them. Now I know with my Sc3, the jaws are all numbered 1 to 4. Oh yes, there's number 2. It's a geared chuck, a scroll chuck, and its key slots in these big holes in the side. And as I turn this here, these cogs turn round, which open and shut the 4 jaws at the front. And they open and shut nice and smoothly together, nice and evenly. So they're numbered. They're punched in the end with a number. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'll put jaw numbered 4 onto this slidey arm 4, and there is a groove cut into this and a ridge in the bottom of the jaw. So the ridge will actually slot into that groove and lock it in place. And then we add 2 screws into the screw holes. And that'll fix this in nice and secure with the Allen key provided. So we have everything we need to assemble our chuck. And it's all slippy and greasy, which is a good thing. Stop it rusting. So I'll put this together on my wobbly table. Tables are wobbly. We're propped up on 2 cardboard boxes, so you would be able to see it. There we are, all assembled and screwed together nice and tight. And everything's running beautifully and smoothly and lined up really neatly. It's so small and cute. Now, I didn't buy a faceplate to go with my new Chuck because I have a couple of other faceplates and I thought I will be absolutely fine with those. So you can get a faceplate for it, and it's Record Power's faceplate number 62571. Now, I already have a 62572 that came as a package with my Sc2, and I've noticed that the faceplate ring that comes with my Sc2 will actually go onto the Sc2. I have to open the jaws up quite a long way to fit, but it will fit. I keep going and put that on top. Not much movement now. There. So it does fit and lock on. So that's useful. I can still make use of that faceplate. Oh, wrong way. Whichever woodchuck I'm using, I can use this faceplate ring. So my new tiny chuck ready to play with. Now, one of the major things that tempted me into choosing the Sc2 woodchuck was you can buy a separate set of jaws, and these are dome jaws. So I've done that as well. So here they are, the 4 dome-shaped jaws. They're certainly very strange for grabbing onto your piece of spindle work, basically. I think the main benefit with these dome-shaped jaws, if I can get hold of them all, there, is just that, they're domey shape. Because they have this outer curve, when they're grabbing hold of a piece of wood and you're trying to work really close in at it, you'll get better access with your chisel because of the dome shape of these jaws. It keeps them out of the way from your piece of work. Now, I don't know if I'll ever use them, but I thought it wise to get them at the same time as I bought my chuck, so that in 2 or 3 years' time, if I decide I want to have a domey shaped jaws, and then I can't get them because they've stopped making them or supplying them or who knows what. They're here and they fit the chuck, so it makes a nice little packaged set. Okay, let's do some woodwork. I've got some small pieces of wood today that I'm going to play with my new small woodchuck, and I've got a few of them. I don't know how many I'll get time to do. I previously made these 2 little saucery dishy pieces using a glue block. I had a wooden glue block that I glued my wood onto to make these smaller little saucers. So hopefully today I'm going to have a go and use my new tiny woodchuck to make some new tiny little saucery bowls with my tiny pieces of wood. This one I think is my smallest. It's not very deep, which is the biggest challenge. I do have some deeper pieces though if we run into trouble. I've got a few slightly bigger bits, but they're a bit small for the big chuck. Overkill. Let's do some woodwork. Okay, so I've been doing my usual and octagonalised my block of wood, not very neatly, and added a faceplate. I'm using slightly shorter screws than normal because this is quite a narrow block of wood. This is the bigger of the 3 pieces I'm planning to play with. These are even tinier. And can you see? Yeah. So I don't know, I'm going to start with my biggest piece and get smaller is the plan, but things don't always go to plan, so let's see what happens. I will also start with my usual spindle gouge, so let's get this mounted onto the lathe. No tailstock because I'm going to do the bottom quite soon anyway, so I'll take my chances tailstock wise. I don't need these here. Tidy up. I'm planning to make a little recess in the bottom so when I turn things round I can lock my new chuck into it, and I have an offcut of wood from a previous project. I have no idea what the project was, but this fits over there just nicely. It's just a little bit bigger than that, so that'll be a good measure to measure the size for my recess, so I'll keep that. But first I want to round out the sides and flatten off the bottom. So let's get dressed. Apron, ear defenders, mask, dusty, dusty fingerprints, these are proper clean, and my gloves. Very fluffy. This piece of wood's quite corky, but this is really smooth. There's a big chunk there. That was there when I started. I don't know how much you can see at your angle. A big chunk out of the wood. Round up this piece will be okay. Bottom's quite flat actually. I'm going to take that slope out, which I think I want to. I'm either going to need to be very round, very curvy. There's a lot more curve to take off here. Let's do that. See if we can get rid of this area where the bark came off and this bit that's damaged. I like the shape that's developing, this little rim. I want to cut a bit deeper to get past that though. Then the bowl. Oh, that's really nasty. I'm not sure how much of that is my chisel and how much is the wood. I think the wood, because they're really smooth here. Still need to keep an eye on my chisel sharpness though. Right, there's still a gouge here, damage, and that flat bit. So curve some more and take some off the side. Still get an end grain tear out. Could I stabilise that by soaking it in some shellac? I'm going to sharpen this. Changing to my round carbide tipped chisel to see if that makes any difference with this end grain tear out. Oh, that's terrible. Worse than ever. This is not going my way today. Still really rough. Really rough. Okay, I'm going to flatten the bottom out. Use some sandpaper to see if I can smooth this out. And if not, I'm going to reject this piece of wood. For a tiny bowl, I've got quite a deep recess in the bottom there. I'm going to do some serious sandpapering on this and see if it has any rescuability. Just before I do that, actually, I'm just going to take this little top edge just along here. I've got an 80 grit sandpaper, which is really coarse, and then I'm jumping to a 120. It's pretty deep. I'm going to have to do a lot of sanding to get past this tear out. But hopefully that might rescue this piece of wood. And if not, I have lots of pieces of wood, so we'll just forget it. We'll have the hoover and some really coarse 80 grit sandpaper. This end's smoothed in nicely and the bottom's nice and smooth. I'm just getting tear out here. The hoover nozzle's great for sucking that sanding dust away from me. We're almost through it. It's not looking bad. A little bit there still, just a tiny bit. Okay, that's going to rescue it though. So I'll still have a pretty bowl. Yay! That's as long as I don't mess up the inside. But a little bit more. Well, the rescue has worked. That's nice. I'm going to shellac this now to help stabilise all of that. Catch my drips. I'm thinking if I put some shellac on here, let that really soak into the wood, that'll help stabilise that fluffy end grain. And hopefully I won't run into too many problems on the inside. The brush needs to melt. Got tissue to soak up the drips as well. Gosh, it makes it really dark. Look at the colour difference, it's huge. This piece of wood is so dry, I'm really drenching it in the shellac. I'm going to have a cup of coffee while that dries, polish it up and turn it round. So here's our little bowl so far, and actually my divot very nicely fits this old plug of wood that I have from something else I made, obviously a spindle, and that fits just perfectly in that hole. But more importantly, so does this. Fits, oh, just looking at the camera right there, fits in there with a little bit of wiggle room. Perfect. Now what I'm at, so this will be, I'll keep this with my wood chuck as a useful measuring tool. What I'm going to do now is actually play with one of my other pieces of wood and make them into little bowls as well, or saucers or trays. This is deeper than I thought it would be. Before I move you over and we carve out the bottom of all of them. So this one is going to end up with thin sides, because the screw holes are so close. I might just do these two for a minute. I want to test this one out before I cut into this one. See how we get on with those thick, narrow sides. To where? To there, really. I cut in that deep. So that is the size of this. So there'd be nothing for my chuck to open out into. But what I could do is leave something for my chuck to grab. So if I cut a sticky out bit, my chuck can grab it and I can cut that off when I've finished. should be enough. Yes, that's it. So that's my bowl shape. A little sandpaper and that one's ready. Wow, that was quite quick. It's quite small though, I suppose. No, straight in with the 220s. My little bowl with its sticky out nub to grab, its grabby bit. It's not much space between the edge of the faceplate and the bowl. Screwdriver. That's interesting. This is our first bowl. I wonder if that nub fits in there. Oh, is it? I would say it's exactly the same size. Bit of a tight fit. I couldn't have done that so close if I'd intended to. So I'm going to do this one first because I think actually it's going to be the most difficult for me. Oh, have I got any room on the sides? I don't know, it's quite thick. That's plenty thick enough. Where's my pencil? So actually we can go there to there. So we're not bad. I've got a bit of rim space, quite a lot of rim space. That's what I was most nervous about, was this would have to be so thin here. I'm going to do this one first with the grabby bit on the back, and then I'll do this one where we open out in the back, and I'll do this one off camera all by myself. On goes the woodchuck, my record power Sc2 woodchuck, which is probably a better size for my little lathe, but it's coped very well with the Sc3, and we're set up to grab. Let's turn you around and stick you up the end. Hello, this is so tiny. I'm used to big chunky things. Going to use my bowl gouge to make a start. Move all this stuff out of the way. So my concern when we started, there's my actual screw hole, so my line is just outside of them. My starting concern was I was going to make this side rim so thin because of the screws, but we've got plenty of room to play with. I'll actually go slightly thinner than that is, so that will be good. I'm having great fun, but I think I'll have to stop and check my depth before I go too deep. Feels like I've got a bit of space to go. Time for a little bit of very fine sandpaper just to polish it up a bit. Nice. Right. Using a coping saw, and I'm actually going to use it upside down, and the teeth are going the right way. So I've moved this out of the jaws slightly because I don't want my coping saw rubbing on my nice new chuck. Almost there. Yay! A little saucy fish. Bit of sandpaper on the bottom. Yay! Tiny little bowl. Oh, here's our new little bowl. A little bit of sanding needed on the bottom, but not much. A little saucery tray, and here's the one I was aiming to copy. I think it's the tiniest thing I've made to date. So, let's do this one. Open up the jaws, take that out, close them down, and fit that in. What am I looking for? Chuck. So that way. And free the bowl. Well, that's today's project. 2 tiny little bowls. Well, that's today's wood turning project all complete. 2 tiny little bowls made with our cute tiny little Sc2 Woodchuck. This is the picture I had in my head when I started. This is what I was aiming for. This tiny little tray-shaped saucer, just right for some earrings or any sort of jewellery really. Perhaps pills or tablets if you need to take them, but something small and fiddly, just right in this little saucery tray. And this is very much more bowl-like. I was not expecting that when I started. I like it though, it's very nice. So in this one, my piece of wood was big enough I could open the chuck out into the recessed divot in the bottom. But this piece of wood was not quite big enough around to allow me to do that. So I had to make a sticky out piece to grab hold of. But both methods have worked very successfully. I've taken 2 small, tiny bowl blanky pieces of wood and made 2 tiny bowls. Well, that's it for today. I'm going to go and get these coated in shellac and add them to my wood-turned collection. So bye for now, and we'll see you next time. And remember, whatever you do, have fun doing it.
If If you've enjoyed today's video, click that like button and let me know. Click subscribe and YouTube will make sure you see my next video. Bye for now and thanks for watching. And don't forget, whatever you're doing, have fun doing it. Since I filmed the video, I've made another 2 little bowls. So now we have bowl 1, 2, 3 and 4.